Welcome again to another Meet the Contestant at Ms. Wheelchair America. It is Friday night, the last couple days of the competition, and tonight we're going to hear the speeches from all the contestants. And right now we're going to get to know another one of the contestants. We've got Ms. Wheelchair Oregon. We've got Hannah Rarick, who's joining us here. We're going to bring her into the feed. And just thank you so much for chatting with us. We are excited to get to know you a little bit and how the week has been going. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell me where you're from and why you're here?
All right. Well, I'm Hannah Rarick from Southern Oregon and Medford, to be exact. And I'm here because I'm the title holder for my state, and I'm passionate about advocacy. And the Miss Wheelchair America program is a wonderful platform for advocacy.
What has it been like you competing in the local state competition? How did you feel when you were crowned Ms. Oregon?
I was surprised because I wasn't really holding attachments. I'm not a very competitive person. I was surprised and honored. I immediately got on the phone with the various nonprofits and organizations that I volunteer and work with, and they shared my enthusiasm for what the crown and the sash could bring to our advocacy efforts.
What are some of those advocacy efforts? You had your accident, you were telling me 5 years ago. What have you been passionate about that you've been talking about during your time as title holder?
Well, I'm really passionate about building community amongst wheelchair users. I work for Oregon Spinal Cord Injury Connection as a community health worker, and so we do organize several events that are open to any wheelchair user, not just spinal cord injuries, just community gatherings, wheelchair maintenance workshops. We team up with other nonprofits to have hand cycle events, camping events, beach excursions with beach chairs. And so, yeah, to me, community is the number one, because a lot of people can get really isolated, and just being able to talk to people who understand each other. I like to say that at a meetup, it takes, you can easily think every day's hard and I'm in so much pain. But then you go to a meetup and it's every day's hard, right? You're in pain too? Yeah. So it just changes the tone and it helps people change their attitude.
Now, Oregon is a really beautiful place, and I think your setting and where you guys are probably has a big impact in the activities that you guys do with your community. Just tell me a little bit about where you are from in Oregon and what that's like, because I think it's so fun to meet the contestants from just across the nation and hear about like their hometowns.
Yeah, so I'm based in Southern Oregon, which is a little bit drier than Northern Oregon, so we do enjoy lots of sunny days. There's plenty of woods. Basically, that's what I did my whole 20s, was just get lost in the woods. There's hot springs, there's lakes. Of course, there's the ocean. We have a whole coastline that's absolutely amazing. So there's a lot of outdoor recreation that goes on there.
And that was something you were passionate about before, like the work you were doing. It says in your bio that you were interested in glass blowing. Can you tell me about how you got involved in that?
Oh, yes. So I was a glass blower from I started apprenticing at the age of 18. And then ended up, at first I was doing, what is it called? Borosilicate, so torch work. And eventually I moved on to soft glass, which was, dipping a big blowpipe into a vat of molten glass. And I spent some time working at Pilchuck Glass School, which is a well-known one up in Washington. Well-known glass blowers anyways. And through there, just met a ton of other glass blowers and would travel up and down the coast visiting different studios. Once I did settle down again, even though Southern Oregon's always been my home base, but when I did settle down, a friend approached me and offered me a job as his assistant. So that job was to trade for glass blowing time, but we would have a ton of fun in the studio. And I had a ton of fun blowing glass. It was absolutely my passion. Luckily, I also have always been a sewer, because glass blowing is a bit hard to do in a wheelchair. So I have made the transition to sewing being my primary art medium of choice, particularly quilts. And I've had a couple successful art shows showing those.
So you said transition. Can we jump back to a little bit about your transition from able-bodied to now using a wheelchair? Can you tell me just whatever you feel comfortable sharing about your accident and what happened to you?
Yeah, so just over 5 years ago in June, um, I made the unfortunate decision to get on the back of a motorcycle with someone who had been drinking. I had also been drinking. Who knew drinking and driving was a bad thing? They should advertise that. We didn't make it. We were up in the mountains. I lived in a rural mountain community. It was actually a neighbor that I didn't even know until that day because we were so rural, and didn't make it very far from the inn on our way home before the motorcycle skidded out. We both hit the hill, rolled down. We were both paralyzed. I did not ever see him again because he took his injury a lot differently than I did. He was bitter and resentful. I felt an easy acceptance of it just because I knew it was my choices and my lifestyle that brought me there. So, there wasn't really anyone else to blame. That makes acceptance easier, I think. And almost immediately, I started peer mentoring. I became friends with everyone in the rehab unit. I became friends with the other, so the peer mentors who I first met, they were just like, oh, you're going to be one of us. So uh, at first, it was a fairly easy adjustment. I would say it took until the third spring before I had my first big breakdown because I saw everyone in their cute summer dresses. But the first few years, I was just so busy, rehabbing and learning how to live life from a wheelchair. There's a lot more to it than you'd ever think, for a spinal cord injury, and well, I'm sure for all sorts of disabilities, but mine is a spinal cord injury. And then eventually I got, uh, sort of headhunted by Oregon Spinal Cord Injury Connection. They begged me to work for them. And so after about a year, I was busy with doing some quilt shows. So finally, after the last one went up, I said I'd work for them. And now I've been a community health worker for almost a year. And I love my team. All of the community health workers have lived experience with spinal cords. And I get to basically just meet people living with disabilities and help them navigate the world and enjoy life.
You mentioned two things that I find I wanted to kind of talk about a little more is acceptance. That acceptance you have to either fight or accept after an injury or illness. And then I also want to ask how important peer mentors are because that sounds like you got connected with them really quick.
So acceptance, I was so thankful that I had that immediate acceptance. And I do think, I've spent a lot of time, consciously working on how I deal with things. My dad's a Zen Buddhist. And so that was, meditation was a huge practice for me in my early 20s. And it kind of slipped in. I don't know. My mindset was tuned for it. And I'm very, very grateful that I was able to have that acceptance. And that is something that I do not push on any of my new clients, because everyone has a different grieving process. But I do hope, I hope that through meeting other community members that everyone is able to find an acceptance with, what happened.
Have you been able to share your story with some of the contestants and what has that been like interacting with all the different ladies?
Oh, yep. I've been able to share my story, and everyone here is so open. We're actually encouraged to talk to each other about our stories and ask questions if we don't know. I kind of feel like I have a pretty short story compared to a lot of people here. It's like, got drunk, got on a motorcycle, crashed in a hill. So there are some very powerful stories and some huge struggles that going on amongst the contestants. So it's been easy to share, but I definitely think that I have a very short story compared to most of the girls.
What's your overall experience been like here? And you talked about the growing and connected with the ladies, but have you learned a lot or things you're taking away from this experience that you're going to bring back home?
Oh, absolutely. Right away, the first day, like people were sort of shy, but started talking, and everyone seems to be becoming fast friends. There's no cliques. It doesn't even feel like a competition. I've loved hearing everyone's platform and learning about their different disabilities, because I can take all of that back to my work directly in Oregon. Um, and feel like hearing their advocacy is making me a better advocate, and just broadening my knowledge of different disabilities and different needs. And I'm looking forward to, having this new skills and knowledge.
So, last question. This has been so much fun chatting with you and hearing about your journey. For somebody who is at the beginning of their recovery, or they were born with a disability and they're in their journey, what kind of advice would you give to them to maybe help them in this process?
I would say, it's so easy to compare ourselves to able-bodied and think of everything we're missing. But I would like to remind people to think about what we've gained through our disability. We have to adapt and overcome so many obstacles every single day, and that makes us strong. So I would like to just remind people that think of the gains, acknowledge the loss or the lacks, but definitely remember there's a lot of gains, and we are strong. And what's it into or I don't know. We're strong and adaptive.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you chatting and taking the time to talk with us. We pulled you out of one of your workshops or having you miss a little bit of your lunch, but we'll get you back to that. So, once again, this is Ms. Wheelchair America. We've been getting to know some of the contestants here. Tonight is Friday night, the speech night for Ms. Wheelchair America. This is the 52nd year of the competition. We have 18 women from across the United States who are competing for the title. Competition is presented by the Mary Free Bed Guild. We are in Grand Rapids, Michigan. For anybody here in Grand Rapids, you can come down to the Amway Grand Plaza to hear the ladies share their platform speeches tonight at 7:30. If you are across the nation, you can log in and watch the live stream on the Mary Free Bed Facebook page or on YouTube. You'll hear all the speeches tonight, and then tomorrow night we will meet the top five, and they'll have the final part of the competition, and then we will meet the winner. So thanks so much for watching. Thanks again to Ms. Oregon for hanging out with us, and we'll be back with some more videos and watch those live streams.